All right, we're back, and I'm excited for this one. Here we are. We got Ty Dev, one of my best friends, and let me tell you, this guy has kind of keep my head on straight more than I can tell. So I appreciate you, fella. Thanks for coming on.
A pleasure to be here. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Now, let me set the stage for everyone. Because I actually knew Ty when we were in high school, crossed paths, and he was dating one of our good friends at North. He was at South, and always known to be a good guy. But after, what was it, after college, like our first year
Yeah.
of
I would say after college.
adulthood, if you would call that adulthood, or just continuing the party,
Loosely. Loosely
loosely.
adulthood.
Loosely. We became very close friends and remain that way today. And part
Yes,
of
sir.
that was, I believe we were both in a similar situation where we went through some breakups
Yeah.
as well as our other very good friend Ryan Whiteley.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was a time where we could kind of bond over that and get over and how that is relevant really to bring that up was it was a moment in time in my life where I wasn't entirely comfortable with who I am, what I do, how I look, how I sound, and I was really just uncomfortable. But that's life, growing up and understanding how to be comfortable with yourself. And whether Ty was in a similar circumstance or not, we've grown throughout the years, and what he's displayed to me and what I want us to talk about, because he has some points that I think are extremely mature for his age, is being comfortable with yourself. And my man, did I do a good enough job laying the groundwork of the
absolutely.
importance of who you are to me and our growth together?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think it's great. A great, introduction and laid the groundwork. I mean, like you said, I think we all came from a similar situation. Myself, you, Whiteley. I think we kind of all, we weren't really close back in like high school. But now I think, you know, we're closer than we could ever be. Just given the circumstance that we were in, getting out of college and kind of finding our own way. But yeah, no, I think you did a perfect lead up. So yeah, excited to get into it and talk a little bit about, being comfortable with yourself and kind of what that can do for yourself or what can it do for people around you and really kind of get you on your way.
Yeah, and to like paint the picture even more, it's not like me, Whiteley, and Ty were having like book club and talking about our feelings. We're
No.
23-year-olds being
Yeah.
23-year-olds.
Yeah, no, I mean, hey, listen, yeah, it's not like we're, sitting there like sulking and, hey, like I just went through this or I just went through that. It was, I think I kind of started like hanging out with Whiteley, and then you and Whiteley were close from going to school and college and football, so you kind of started hanging out with us as well, and it just clicked really well, and it just kind of escalated from there. Whether it was going to your guys' apartment, I was just trying to get out of my house. You guys were already in an apartment, so I was like, oh, this is a great escape for me to get out of my house a little bit. So it kind of started with that. It would either go to the bar or just kind of hang out. We just did what I guess 23-year-olds did. It was work during the day, work all week, and hang out on the weekends, watch Red Zone on Sundays, and that's kind of how it all began, really. And we kind of just unfolded from there, and now here we are. We're all married, we got kids now, so it kind of escalated from there. But yeah, so
Yeah, and I think what was like truly different because there's a lot of people that were around that we hung out with, good people. But the difference between, us three and, all of us have, you have a special connection with Whiteley. I have a special connection with Whiteley. I have a special connection with you
mhm.
and, vice versa. So what was different from, everyone else going through and how those relationships formed is like, we didn't care about each other.
Yeah,
We did, have maybe conversations like Whiteley was in a serious relationship. We all got into, relationships here and there and talking about that, being there for each other. And some of these like subtle things of friendships of maybe, not being so outspoken about like, hey, how are you doing? But just being comforting and knowing like, hey, I have you, I have support you, and the loyalty that you see that maybe you don't need to speak to, but that just shown. And that's just what I'm thinking here too.
yeah. No, I mean, I think you talk. I think it's a great point. I think what like us three have, what me and you have, and kind of makes like our three-headed, friendship unique is like, I know that like you guys are there for me. Like I could pick up the phone at like 3 a.m. and I know you guys will be there. It's not like a spoken thing. It's just a natural thing. Like none of it's forced. um, so I think that's what really helped the groundwork, like really get things going. Is like it just came so natural. Nothing was forced. It was, if I wanted to show up at your guys' house, like I know I could do that. Like and that was the same with you guys. You guys could come to my house and walk in like you were family. So it was more than it was more than a friendship. It's like a family,
Yeah.
friendship. And like you said, it's never, obviously we've all gone through our ups and downs and all had our moments. And I think that's just part of growing a friendship and
Mm,
becoming a better person yourself. But it was never forced for us to, hey, I want to, I need to talk to you about this or that. Everybody could speak their voice, everybody could speak their opinion, and we all tried to help each other get through specific things based off of what we've been through and where we were going. So we kind of all helped each other get through barriers and go
yeah.
through hurdles in our life, whether that was relationships, whether that was work stuff, whether that was family stuff, whatever it
Mm,
was. We all just, yeah, it was just easy. It just
yeah.
came natural, and
Natural.
it came from there.
And I think what part of that is just being open to new circumstances, new people, and being vulnerable to be like, yeah, like let's hang out, let's do this. We're in a similar circumstance, and I think so many people are closed off from new friendships, new relationships, and I mean, Team Garba has the saying, "When roots are deep, there's no reason to fear the wind." And it's called a team for a reason. And I
Yeah.
feel as if you guys are so much part of my roots, but I hated Whiteley in high school. He was the other linebacker, and he was the other fullback for the rival team that would kick our ass every single time. And through a mutual connection, our friend Ant, we got connected and went to the same school, roomed together. And, I think Whiteley was just so open at the, period where I was in, like, dude, come out with us. Started hanging out with this group.
Yep.
And, I know you and Whiteley were friends, but it's not like you guys were best friends since, 6 years old.
Nah.
And the openness to be like, you don't know who's going to come across your life. So just appreciate, all the kindness that's given to you and, give it back. Show the loyalty, even if it's blind at first, because you never know who's going to help you come across those windy days.
Yeah. No. I mean, I think it's a great point. I mean, like you said, I always hung out with Ryan like growing up, and me and you were close. What was that, freshman year, and
Yeah.
then we kind of just went our separate ways.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I was always hanging out with like Ryan and that crew that I always hang out with. But I was never really close with Ryan when I was in that, with that group until after college. And I feel like me and Whiteley were the only ones that were really still home at the point, and that's kind of how we just like, yo, let's go out to the bar, like let's just go do something. I got nobody else, so let's go do something. And it's just kind of being comfortable, just jumping into, I'm already friends with him, but just kind of evolving from there. And now now he's like a brother. Like I go to his house and I call his mom my mom, and it's just like, it's just one door leads to another door. And
Yeah.
even though that was in the past, we went through college, and here we are. So
Yeah.
I think that's how that just unfolded. And it's unfolded naturally, and because we were both open minded, and listen, we were just trying to you know be friends and do whatever. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
how it all jumped.
Yeah, and obviously, like there's tons of similarities in between you two, in between all of us. But like
Yeah.
you said, like being just open to it, like, hey, why not? And I think it escalated, like I mentioned before, from just friendship to like this brother that's there for me and supporting me, and we all like. Well, he was single too. He
Yeah.
met his wife. You were
Yep.
single. You met your wife. I was
Yep.
single. I met my wife, and God, I mean, I can honestly say that and it wasn't a smooth road for any of us. And I think seeing each other grow in those circumstances, I mean, I know I've told Whiteley this too, just like seeing him and, Nicole grow together, it was like great to see. And he really, kind of adapted to a relationship maybe when other people weren't at that age. And that was
Hmm.
something that you could look forward to. And then one thing that, people never know when to fold when they're up or walk away from the table. And I can honestly say that you knew how to. And I knew that when you started to look after yourself, you started to look into the relationships that you had and how you wanted to spend them, what you wanted to do inside of those relationships, outside those relationships, and you started to put yourself first. And you came up with, back to the topic of the whole conversation here. You came up with this thing. You said it to me, and you knocked me on my ass because I was shocked because it was pretty damn good. And I don't know if at the time I could have done it, but I'll paraphrase, and you can correct me. You're never really truly happy or comfortable with yourself if you can't go to a bar and have a drink by yourself.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's definitely the bird's eye view of it. I think it doesn't have to be a bar. It could be anything. It could be a diner in the morning. It can be
Mm-hmm.
go see a movie by whatever it is. But the bigger aspect of it is you got to be comfortable with yourself. Um, you got to be happy with yourself. You got to be confident in yourself. Without those things, at least in my opinion, just kind of learned it from like my dad is you got to make yourself happy. You got to be comfortable in your own shoes because you don't want to lean on somebody to make you happy, or it shouldn't be the case. When you meet somebody or anything like that, you should make each other happy and make yourself better.
Yep.
So for me, during that time, I think obviously there was times where couldn't go out with you guys or whatever it was, and maybe I was at home and I was like, I got to do something, and I kind of just got in my own head and was, you know, how can I make myself better? And
Yeah.
from what I've learned, so I would maybe if I would go to the diner by myself. My dad would go anywhere by himself. He would
Mm-hmm.
go to the bar and sit there by himself. He would go out to the diner and buy, an old couple breakfast. So I took that as an opportunity to grow myself. I said maybe I'll meet somebody and I can hear about their story, or maybe I'll meet an old couple and I'll hear their story. So it was more just getting that confidence to get up out of the house and go meet people, and don't be afraid to meet people. And you get that confidence and you get that you're comfortable in your own skin. And at that point, when you kind of get to that threshold, I feel like you're unstoppable. You can go wherever you want to go. So that's kind of where it kind of stemmed from.
Yeah, there's an aspect of self love right there that not that you're not obsessed with yourself, but you're so comfortable with yourself that you don't need to rely on anyone for external happiness or
Yeah,
joy. And think about that full circle picture. We needed each other. We
yeah,
needed to find each other in a certain moment. But then you can see all of us getting to a point. And when you mentioned that to me, you mentioned we've had this kind of conversation many, many of times, keeps me certainly honest with myself because I've talked about like I can't truly love myself if or love anyone else if I'm not putting everything into myself first. If I'm not comfortable with who I am, and to be honest, it's unfair for the people in your life because, like you said, you're relying on them. You're sucking energy out of them because you can't internally make it. And it's a hard concept. It's not easy. It takes
no,
time. It takes other people to work on it with, like you did. But I think it was so mature and healthy of you to come to that point where certainly, made me feel like I can keep myself honest to that too, or at least try to.
yeah. No, I totally agree. Like I said, making yourself happy first before you try to go make somebody else happy. If you're not fully happy with where you are, maybe you're not where you want to be. Let me say that. And
Yeah.
that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with you sitting at the end of the day saying, I'm not where I want to be, but if you can change your perspective of that and say, where I'm going is where I'll be happy, and because when you get to that next point, you're not going to be happy there either. You're just going to want the next thing. So if you kind of change your mindset in that, and you know continue to work and work and work and continue to try to make yourself happier, you kind of complete yourself. And as you're doing that, if you meet somebody or whatever it is, maybe you don't meet somebody, maybe you're just trying to be happier in your own life, you
Hmm.
start to fully grasp that, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
I was able to grasp that at least. And I guess another side of this is, more about like having the ability to even do these things, nobody wants to go by themselves and go do something by themselves because it's uncomfortable. You know, maybe you'll get looked at, and it's not the easiest thing to do, and that's okay. But I think it's about perspective. If you take a different perspective and you say, you know, I'm able to go do these things, or whatever it is, you know, there's people that can't do these things. So if you take it from a different perspective, it gives you a little bit more gratitude, and willingness to go do it. At least that's just how I feel.
Yeah.
You know, is it a perfect recipe? No, but
Yeah, that's I mean, I'm just thinking as you're speaking because I've read like this guy, one of my favorite authors, Ryan Holiday. He has like a bunch of books. Ego's the Enemy, Oscar's the Way, and the other one is I think Stillness is the Key. Yeah, it's over there. And it's crazy to think that like being still, being one with yourself is like super peaceful.
yeah,
No, sure, people find peace in chaos, but like if you can't find peace in stillness, then like are you ever going to be satisfied? As you kind of were basically saying. And where is that going to take you if you're always reliant on something rather than yourself and that kind of internal happiness?
yeah, no, I totally agree. I think if you're relying on something else, you're relying on somebody else to get to that happy spot, whatever that is in
Mhm.
everybody's, you know, own mind. It's going to be hard to get there. You know, it makes it easier for things to come to fruition when you're happy with yourself. You have a positive attitude, and listen, it's not like every day I wake up and I go, I'm the most positive person ever. It's just not. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah,
You know, there's days where I want to be negative, or there's days where I'm not as happy as I am usually. But it just goes with the flow. It goes with the day, and you take one day at a time, and you just try to get better every day, and you learn from those things. You know, it's a stepping stone to try to be better every single day, and
yeah,
that was my that was my way of doing it. You know, I wasn't happy with myself. I wanted to be more comfortable with myself. I wanted to be more happy, and it wasn't saying that. And I'm not going to sit here and say I wasn't happy, but it was in a way for me to go out and meet people, random people, hear their story, or just get out of my comfort zone. And
yeah.
that's where I just took it and ran with it.
Yeah, of course, like it's being comfortable with yourself, but it's also finding yourself and who you
Yeah,
want to be. Just
yeah, 100.
because
percent
it may not be something that maybe three out of your five friends would do doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. You got to find what works best for you. And almost like to that point, I always say like everyone, meditation is huge, right? But I think you can get the same effects of meditation with simple acts or habits or like going on a walk in the park or reading or something like that. You don't have to sit still for 5 minutes. Now, granted, it's probably a little bit more effective to do,
Right.
but things like that, like going and having a cup of coffee at a diner, like thing with like that is going to bring you peace, and it's important to understand what that is.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I totally agree. I think it gets you, it gets you out of where you are. Like, say, if, like whether it's during like a COVID time, everybody's trying to itch to get out of their house. You're kind of seeing the same four walls. It gets you a new environment. It gets you in a new headspace. You know, you're in your own thoughts. And I mean, is that always a good thing? Maybe not. But you can talk to yourself. You can have those thoughts. You're in a different mindset. You're in a different setting. So it gives you a different perspective on things, and you see how other people move, and you observe. I mean, that me, I'm very observant. I always have been. Um, so I just took it all in. You know, I just was in the moment, and I think that's another part of it is just living in the moment.
Yeah,
You know, not worrying about things I can't control, and worrying about things I can control, and being present. I think that's another huge aspect of
yeah,
where that really stems from, and because I think if you're not present, you lose a lot of things. You know, whether that's time, whatever it is, I think you lose it. But it's just another thing that can benefit you from doing something like that.
yeah.
So,
It's actually bringing up the present thing is really relevant for me right now. I'm reading a book called "Be Where Your Feet Are," and it's written by I believe it's Scott O'Neill, who was either now or was the CEO of the Philadelphia 76ers. And
mhm.
I believe he like lived in Yardley because he mentioned in the book that like he was trying to get his girls to a basketball game in Yardley or something to that nature. Um, but it's like it's really cool. He's talking about like these stupid grounding techniques that people may roll their eyes about, but like he has a common theme, especially in the beginning of the book, of like physically being where your feet are. Like if
Yeah.
he's CEO of the 76ers, so ton of work. But he'll give his all to work, and then when he's done with work, he's done with work. He's now with his
Yeah.
family. And
Yeah.
and I think, you're getting to that point of like being present, and multitasking sucks. It's just not a thing. It's not a thing. You're probably just ineffectively doing two things at once rather than just shutting it off and, not really being where you're at.
Yeah. No, I think the being present thing is something that's extremely overlooked, especially in today's day and age with the phones. I mean, it's
Yeah.
so easy not to be in touch with where you are or who you're with. Um, I think it's taken me a long time to get to that point. I mean, there's places where I've been on my phone, and I look back at it now that I'm a little bit older, and I'm like, I could have learned a lot of knowledge when I was there, but I wasn't paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think being present and trying to be as present as possible, is great for yourself. It's great for the time. Time is cheap and time is short, and I think I've come a long way in realizing that, and now I try to be more present. And even more so now, I have a 6-year-old son. I have a 6-month-old daughter. So yes, life is crazy, and
Crazy sixes.
yeah, life gets in the way. But for me, if I go to work at 8 o'clock and I leave at 4 o'clock, I'm out. I'm done. That's my family time now. So that's where I ground myself. Yeah, of course, we got a bunch of million things to do here, but we try to take one moment at a time and try to be as into the moment as possible. And your kids benefit from it. My wife benefits from it. Everybody's happier. So yeah, being present is a huge aspect, and I think a lot of people can learn from that.
Now, for you viewers who are 22 minutes in, to viewers, listeners, 22 minutes in, and if they don't believe my guy about being present, being within himself, all right, you don't believe the coffee shop, the bar store, being by himself, he and his wife will drive their car without any music.
This is a fact. This is a
Isn't that
fact.
true? Isn't that a
Yes.
true story?
Yes. We just recently, oh God, last March, I think we rode down to the Outer Banks with not a single song on. So 7 hours.
Once you guys told me that months ago, I've been trying it out, and I do like it. I do like it a lot. I can't imagine that says so much on so many levels. Tell me
Now
more.
I'll say this. If I'm in the car by myself, shit, that
Okay.
stuff's jamming.
Okay.
But I thought, when we first met, and obviously when we got into our relationship and all that, it just at first, we would listen to music, and we would do this, and then we would do that, and we would chit chat, and then it would be music, and then it just progressed to just nothing. And at first, I'm like, this is kind of weird. Like, why aren't we listening to music? Like, I enjoy music. I think it brings out a lot in people. I think it tells a lot of stories. I think it's really good. I think it's healthy. But sometimes we'll sit there for an hour and not say anything. Sometimes we'll just, sometimes we'll chit chat. Sometimes we'll talk about this. Sometimes we'll talk about that. But then, on the way home, maybe we'll listen to music. So it flip flops. But yeah, I mean, more times than not, it's more silent than anything.
That's awesome. That's the epitome of being comfortable with yourself and being present and in the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, I go through these sprint intervals where I'll do that, but I'll tell you what, I will listen to a podcast, watch the Flyers, and play video games all at the same time. And that is my decompression time to be overloaded with crap.
Yeah.
But I have tried that ever since you and Jackie have mentioned that. I don't do it all the time, but I'm like, damn, that's such a flex. That is a
Yeah. No,
flex.
it's definitely. I think it's more about just us being so comfortable with each other. It's
Yeah.
like there doesn't have to be conversation. Like we're in the house all day together. If we're not together, we're texting or doing whatever. I'm calling her or whatever it is. So, is there times we're in the car and we don't speak for like a half hour? Yeah, maybe, but we're just so comfortable being with each other that it doesn't have to be anything. Of course, you can flick on the radio if you want. If not, we sit there. And I mean, now more important than ever, if we have Nash in the car or Sage in the car, more times than not, there's not music going on. I want to hear what Nash has to say. I want to hear him speak his mind. I mean, he's 6. He speaks whatever he wants. So you got to enjoy that more than the music. And if
Yeah,
he wants a song on, we'll speak up. We'll get a little jam session. But
that's awesome. Yeah, I do find often if I put on like a podcast for Christina and I or a playlist, we'll go a minute or two like on Stupeville Road, right around the corner. Right to get to Village Market, right by Whitey's house. And we're just chatting. I'm like, why the hell do I have this shit on? Well, I can't, what's the point of listening to it? We were just talking. I don't know why I'm playing this
exactly,
on.
I can't even pay attention to the podcast.
No, no.
My comprehension's already horrible as it is.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And to your point about like social media and now comprehension, I have had, and as you know, like I've had to trick myself. I've taken like Instagram off my phone. It is on my iPad. So this old iPad that's like 10 years old. In order for me to look at Instagram, I have to go through my iPad. The Wi-Fi is terrible on my iPad. So I'll get through 3 stories and like 4 pictures, and I'm like, I'm done.
I'm
I'm
done.
done. I can't even make it. And
Yeah.
I loved it. I love all that crap. Don't get me wrong. Snapchat is something like I took the notifications off, so I have to like physically check it to respond to you guys. And but I only have Twitter on there because I have to read for Twitter. And I'm like, all right, I'm done reading. Like, I'm too tired. So that's something that's helped me a ton. Try to be present, especially with the phone. It's just so many things you can do on the damn thing and
Yeah.
get sucked into it.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, and kudos to you for doing that. I mean, I think that's hard to do. I think it's hard to delete Instagram off your phone. I think it's hard to delete, any social media off your phone because it's like if you get a notification, it's so and whatever it is, like if a buddy tags you in a video, you're like, oh, I got to go watch. It's probably hilarious. I got
It's
to go
so
watch.
good.
Yeah,
It's so
it's probably
good.
great. And you know what? 9 times out of 10, it is hilarious. But
Yeah.
is it necessary to have it right there and then? Absolutely not. Um, yeah, so I think it takes away from a lot of your time and a lot of your present time. And I've been trying to become more aware of time because I know it's short, I know it's fast, and I think just being around Nash for X amount of years, and now with my daughter, it's making it more present. That time is fast and it's short. Like 6 months it has been insane. It has flown away. Um, so I'm trying to be more present in that, and I try to take the social media thing more as a learning aspect because it's easier to sit there and scroll for literally hours on end with how entertaining and creative people are. I try to change it for whether it's a motivational thing or I'm learning something new,
Yeah.
or maybe it's something I need to do in my house. I'm looking for like a project to do, whatever it is. So
See, that's the kicker. The stuff's really informative on there too.
yeah, it's very informative, very informative.
Yeah, so I like that, making it more productive.
Yeah.
For that time.
Yep.
Let's wrap it up with this because I feel as if people can try to take something away from this podcast, which is great. I know I try to every time I talk to you, and I think
Yep.
selfishly, I have such great friends, support systems, and I'm so glad you came on today because I want to share some insight of like, dude, look at these golden nuggets I'm getting from these people, and it's certainly helped me to make me who I am today, and I appreciate that. What's something you would challenge people to do to maybe be present, to be comfortable with themselves, whether it's, hey, go to a restaurant by yourself, go to the diner by yourself, go get a cup of coffee by yourself, sit there in silence, drive in silence, or something that you're doing right now that's pretty much in the same family of what you've done in the past.
Yeah, no, and thanks for having me on. Obviously, I think this has been a long time, long
Yes.
time coming. I know we've been helping each other through life
Yeah.
events.
And we'll continue to.
Yeah, exactly, and we'll continue to do so. I mean, there's so many things that you could take away, and I'm no expert at all. Hopefully somebody does find value in what we've talked about today. But I think just if you really want to take something just that anybody can do, and I think it's the gratitude thing. I think it's the being present thing. I think those are easy things to do,
Yeah.
and really just take them one day at a time. I think as humans we get so caught up in what we can't control or what tomorrow brings, and I wish I had that or I wish I didn't do this. I think if we change our perspective on things and I'm glad I did that because I learned this. I learned that I don't want to do this, or I learned that I do want that. Um, I think if we sit back and kind of slow down a little bit in this fast paced world that we live in, I think you become a little bit more grounded to who you are, who you want to be, and where you want to be. Um, is it easy to do? No, because obviously there's things in the past day that bother you.
Yep.
Maybe it's an argument, maybe it's whatever it is, but is it really that deep at the end of the day? Maybe that's just easy for me to say because I'm more of the carefree, happy-go-lucky kind of guy, but
Hmm.
not everybody's like that, and I understand that. But I think
That's
the
why you
more
take it one day at a time, like you said. Though
that's
you don't have
yeah,
you don't have to figure it out all in one day. Just
no,
one step
you
forward.
don't. No, you don't have to figure it out all in one day. And, more times than not, everything's going to work itself out. And, just one door is going to lead to another door. It's just hard to see that sometimes. And I think if you can tell yourself that and, hey, it's a new day. I got to wake up today. I get to go to the gym today. I get to read a book. Whatever you get to do, every day becomes a holiday.
Yeah, that's true.
That's why, I've been trying to change my mindset in that. Um, because it's so easy to wish for Friday. It's so easy to wish for the weekend. And do I find myself wishing for the weekend? Of course. But if I get to enjoy my time during the day seems longer. The more I feel present, the more I get to know my family. And I just think it makes me a happier person. And at the end of the day, that's what we're all trying to be. So
Amazing. Amazing. Well, my friend, you did not let down or you did not disappoint. This was fantastic.
thank you.
Um,
Thank you. Thanks for
all right.
having me. A
We're
pleasure.
gonna have you on again, man. This was great. Maybe get some other people in here with you, get some good
Absolutely.
conversation. But listen,
Anytime.
Dan, appreciate you. Love you, brother. You've been
Appreciate
there for
you.
me.
Love you.
I'll be there for you, as you know. And
Absolutely.
I'll tell you what, I'm gonna drive silently for the next time I drive. I'm gonna bring
Hey,
Rose to the park, and we're gonna be in dead silence. If he wants to talk, he can. So,
might give you a lick or two.
yeah, if he wants like the Baja Mans who let the dogs out, I'll let it ride. But
I'll let
I
the
ain't
dogs
starting
out just a
anything.
little bit.
Awesome. Well, listen, thanks, bud, and thanks everyone for checking us out again. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, H. Appreciate you. Love you, buddy.
Love you too, man.